but I'm not broadcasting yet. Okay, I'm going to start it and open up the floodgates. Everyone will come in. If you need anything, just ask me or chat me on the panelist side.
Jonathan, James, before you do, we wanted to do a little photo with all of us with us.
Okay, if
gallery.
you want, Yuli, can you stop the share so everyone's up on the screen?
Sure, yeah.
YW, we need you back with your screen, with your photo. With
There
your
we go. There's everyone. And Yogi, you can join. Oh, he can't hear us.
Oh, we can't? Oh, there he is. There's Yogi. Wonderful.
Did you guys get it?
Somebody get it? Yuli, did you get it?
Yes, I get it.
Yeah, I got it too.
Okay,
right.
Wonderful. All right, now you can go.
Guys.
Now you can go, James.
All right, here we go.
Arizona State University, ranked #1 in America for innovation, in Thunderbird School of Global Management. For more than 70 years, the vanguard of global leadership and management. Now together, providing transdisciplinary education that helps students and working professionals meet the demands of a world grappling with the challenges of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. In this time of unprecedented volatility, businesses and organizations from around the world face challenges difficult to understand, let alone address. Our students are prepared not only with rigorous curriculum, but also with applied experiential learning opportunities in the field. So they graduate with more than knowledge. They graduate with hands-on experience that enables them to hit the ground running. With global hubs around the world, ASU and Thunderbird come to you, delivering unique learning outcomes that graduates take with them into the workplace and the communities they serve.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to today's webinar
Opportunity during the pandemic. The future of education is borderless. My name is Melanie Tantri. I'm working at Rajawali Corpora and I'm a Thunderbird graduate class of 2020. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. Bahasa Indonesia interpretation is available for this webinar. Please click the interpretation button in your Zoom meeting controls for such service. Gentle reminder to our speakers, host, and moderator to speak clearly in this webinar. Today's webinar is brought to you by Rajawali Global Education and Rajawali Foundation in partnership with Thunderbird School of Global Management, Arizona State University. Thank you for joining us today, and please introduce yourself in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you. COVID-19 has disrupted our working practices and behaviors. As the McKinsey survey in May 2020, the demand for new set of skills emerged in order to survive the crisis. It is a challenging time when traditional training methods are no longer feasible as well. Today, we will hear experts' presentations and discussion of how the future of education would be and its impact in shaping future talents in a way that's relevant to the industries. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our first keynote speaker, Bapak Junardi. Bapak Junardi is the Commissioner of Rajawali Corpora and Board of Supervisor of Rajawali Foundation. Pak Junardi, the time is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. Is my voice quite okay?
Okay, Pak.
Hello? Yes, okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Pak, very clear, Pak.
First, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Sanjeev Kagram, Director General and Dean of the Thunderbird School of Global Management at Arizona State University. As I said, we met virtually several times during the UN Uniting Business Forum in mid-September. I'd like also to welcome all the speakers, Pak Rudiantara, Pak Herdi Herman, Pak Pri Noto Widigdo, and also my colleague from Rajawali Foundation, Dr. Jonathan Pincus, and Pak Agung Bimantoro, and other friends. And certainly, but last but not least, special welcome to all the webinar participants. And I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Wherever you are. The pandemic COVID-19 has forced us, whether we like or not, to adapt to what we call the new normal. Just only 6 months since it first outbreak, COVID-19 has dramatically changed the world. And we are facing the greatest socio-economic shock in a generation and abruptly upended our family and personal life. There are losing sectors and winning sectors by this pandemic. The losing sectors among others like tourism, manufacturing, automotive and electronics, retail, malls, and SMEs. And of course, there are winners. Or I would like to call it the lucky sectors, such as pharmacy, healthcare, e-commerce, home entertainment, home delivery service, and so on. But both the losers and the winners, they have to develop business continuity to combat the implication of COVID-19 for survival and redefine transformation plan for future growth and sustainability. What is meant by new and how we have to adapt to this new environment? In my opinion, the new normal is a new lifestyle. Is the need for the transformation of business into a new way of doing. It's the need to revisit the business models and sustainability and explore new business, because there are some business that will be that may be obsolete soon. To me, also the digital adoptions and innovation to conduct business in more effectively, and also the need to enhance the cooperations among countries to address the global challenges. As you know, that COVID is also worldwide issues. And the most important thing is to change the mindset of the leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, this COVID-19 outbreak also hit one of the most important aspects in our life, the education sector. It hinders teaching and learning activities, which usually carried out in a direct meeting in a classroom. And as you know, thousands of schools and universities today are now closed. Education is a strategic investment for today and for the future. Although especially we always talk about the importance for the young generation, but actually and this is also the SDG 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals. So education sector must also adapt to the new normal, as I mentioned above. It has to change dramatically by deploying technology, developing the online education, whereby teaching is undertaken remotely, and digital platform. In fact, it is now the new opportunity during the COVID-19. It is also opportunity during this Merdeka Belajar, as advocated by Pak Nadiem Makarim, our Minister of Education and Culture. We believe that online education will open the opportunity to resume the learning in a new way, open the opportunity to broader collaborations among universities and business. And COVID-19 has accelerated global collaboration in all aspects, including education, of course. And partnership, as defined in SDG 17, is crucial for the success of sustainable development, to leave no one behind and to achieve the world we want. Let me mention about the Rajawali Foundation now. One of the key missions of the Rajawali Foundation is to maintain a diverse portfolio of projects and programs, emphasizing the policy, research, and education. And as an active member of the UN Global Compact, Rajawali Foundation has contributed to the effort of achieving SDG in collaboration with many stakeholders in Indonesia and worldwide. Since 2004, Rajawali Foundation has established partnership with various institutions, government, private sectors, private foundations, universities, and other education institutions, international aid organizations, UN bodies, development agencies, as well as civil societies. Some notable Rajawali Foundation initiatives include the following: Rajawali Foundation Institute for Asia, Harvard Kennedy School Indonesia programs, Indonesia Scholarship and Support Foundation, Equality, Development and Globalization Study, University of Cambridge Development Studies, Center of Public Policy Transformations, Indonesia Global Compact Network Business and Human Rights Working Group, and also Community Development. I would like to thank Dean Sanjeev Kagram for the wonderful collaboration since 2008 to 2018 of online MicroMaster and websites of online in applied leadership and management. The participants and students located in Jakarta met weekly in-person session at Rajawali Foundation. We received a very encouraging feedback from the students about the program. They strongly agree that the course has provided them with a new concept and thought on how to apply them in the real world and help them to work in a globalized and diverse environment. In partnership with Rosetta Stones, we have also established a program which is tailored for employees and professionals to improve their business English skills. As you know, English capability in the current global relationship and regular face-to-face meetings. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe the importance of harnessing the information technology to develop online teaching to become an essential component of academic institutions. Rajawali Foundation realizes the strategic importance of pursuing an impact-based education, also the power of collaboration with the world-class education institutions such as Thunderbird in order to deliver quality education programs in Indonesia. I hope today's webinar, which is brought to you by Rajawali Global Education of Rajawali Foundation in partnership with Thunderbird School of Global Management, Arizona State University, will give you a lot of insights and ignite more ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Junardi. Our next keynote speaker is Dr. Sanjeev Kagram, Director General and Dean of Thunderbird School of Global Management, Arizona State University.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Thank you so much, Melanie. First of all, it is our great privilege and honor to be partnering with Rajawali Foundation or Rajawali Global Education. We are two partners that believe in the very same things: harnessing the data revolution and the fourth industrial revolution to empower all to achieve the SDGs and build back better during this decade of action, and to ensure that no one is left behind. Let me first extend my deep gratitude to Pak Junardi for his leadership, to our speakers, Pak Rudiantara, Pak Pri, Pak Herdi, to my very good friend and close colleague, Pak Jonathan Pincus. We are so excited and thrilled and honored to be part of this partnership that we see as transformative. For 75 years now, Thunderbird has been the vanguard of global leadership management and business education. And for the last 2.5 years since I took over the school and have had the honor and privilege to lead it, we have embraced the fourth industrial revolution. What is this fourth industrial revolution? It is the coming together of biological, cyber, and digital technologies that are transforming everything in our world. Who we are as human beings, how we do business, and how we lead organizations, how our societies operate, and how we engage our natural environment. From artificial intelligence to machine learning, IoT to blockchain, drones, the 12 or so key technologies are fundamentally transforming the world. This began well before the pandemic, but in many ways, and we see this today, the pandemic has only accelerated, amplified, and made even more important and central this fourth industrial revolution. For us at Thunderbird, the #1 school for global management, as part of Arizona State University, the #1 university for innovation, and also the #1 university for SDG impact in the United States and 5th in the world, a proud partner as Rajawali of the UN Global Compact and of the Prime network of business schools. We see that despite the difficulties and challenges that the pandemic has certainly brought upon us, there are great opportunities for us to all embrace. And that is why this partnership is so important to us. We believe that we must be the most global and digital leadership management and business school in the world. And this wonderful building, global headquarters that you see behind me, is our brand new global headquarters. Next June, it will be completed. We'll move in July and August. We will begin beginning classes. And I want to make a special invitation to all of our wonderful partners in Jakarta and Indonesia to join us for our 75th anniversary, our grand opening of the building, the global headquarters, and global reunion next November 4th to 7th, because we would be very honored to have you. Today, our mission at Thunderbird is more important than ever. We were founded, Thunderbird was founded at the end of World War II by Thunderbird pilots that came back from the horrors of that war and believed there was a better way. They came up with a famous phrase: borders frequented by trade seldom need soldiers. Border frequented by trade seldom need soldiers. Over the years, we have trained 46,000 graduate students, undergraduate and graduate students, and hundreds and thousands of executive education students all over the world. Our global footprint has grown to Moscow, Dubai, Geneva, Nairobi, Tokyo, Seoul, soon to be in Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Mexico City, to 25 regional centers of excellence. Perhaps one of the most exciting things I've done as dean is to launch our new Center of Excellence in Jakarta just last year, hosted by Medco and our wonderful alum, Hilmi Padagoro, and where Rahmat, our wonderful office manager, is there, and Yuli is our other very important colleague that is working on our work in Indonesia, but we're just getting started. And the partnership with Rajawali we see to continue to grow and grow and grow with so many new exciting opportunities. We are very excited about the Masters of Applied Leadership and Management online and how it's already beginning to have a positive impact. But we know that we can scale and grow so much more. Thunderbird ASU is recognized as the vanguard of digital and online education and lifelong learning. Right now, for example, we're teaching simultaneously in 3 different modalities. About half of our students are back in the classroom with half of our faculty in person. About 1/3 of our students are actually learning synchronously, what we call Thunderbird Sync online. And about 1/3 of our students, about the rest of our students are learning asynchronously. We believe that we must be able to be proficient and effective in teaching in multiple different modalities, because that is what the 21st century requires. So without further ado, I want to continue on with this incredible webinar. I just want to say again that we're so delighted and honored and privileged to be partners of the Rajawali Foundation, Rajawali Global Education. We know that this is just the next of many, many, many things we are going to do together. And as I said, we are relentless optimists. We really believe in 3 fundamental principles. One is to ensure everyone's safety, health, and physical, mental, emotional well-being. Number 2 is to partner with great institutions such as Rajawali to offer world-class educational and thought leadership programs. And 3, to make sure that we, like our founders, are bringing the world together. This is a difficult time in the world with the pandemic, with climate change, the economic crisis, and yet the future is bright. So without further ado, let me pass it back to you, Melanie, and dear colleagues, and thank you again for your partnership.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjeev. We are pleased to have today's exciting event opened by Bapak Agung Winantoro, Executive Director of Rajawali Foundation.
All right, thank you, Melanie, for the opportunity to welcome and greet all of the distinguished speakers we have today with us, Pak Junardi and Dean Sanjeev Kagram, Pak Rudiantara, Pak Herdi Harman, Pak Pri Noto Widikdo, Pak Jonathan, and of course, all ladies and gentlemen, participants of the webinar. A very good morning to you all, and I wish you always stay safe and healthy. Rajawali Foundation and its online education arm, Rajawali Global Education, is honored to partner with a leading higher education institution, the Arizona State University Thunderbird School of Global Management. A little bit about Rajawali Foundation. We were established over 15 years ago by our chairman, Pak Peter Sonda, and education has been dedicated as our main focus of activities, as we believe that education is the true foundation of this nation's power in its social and economic development toward a more just and prosperous future. We have partnered and learned a lot with many leading institutions, nationally and internationally, to implement and share education program, best practices, and innovation that can be brought into a broader dialogue, scale-up endeavor, and contribution to a better policy that touches the lives of millions of people in this country. So the pandemic now presents us with a lot of challenges and a narrowing path, but we must respond with an education model that enable us as a country to reach our Set Indonesia Emas goal to be one of the biggest and advanced economies in the world by 2045, as we celebrate 100 years of our independence. So a little bit of story moving back 5 years ago. We at the Rajawali heard about MOOCs, M-O-O-C, massive open online courses. It was offered by few leading international universities at a time, but we started to discuss about its potential in our Rajawali Academy Forum with colleagues across the Rajawali Group. We had not imagined at a time that online education will prevail as one of the main methods of education. The technology and delivery at that time were still traditional. And we would be attending class, looking at the screen, sitting at the back passively. We call it auditing a class. We would see the professor talking one way to us, and we had little, if nothing at all, interaction with other students. We would easily find ourselves feeling lonely, we feel less motivated. That's why a high student attrition and dropout rate always happen during the first year of online classes. However, things have changed now. Technology and curriculum evolve rapidly over time. Method of delivery online improves. We have now more interaction, group works, group projects enabled, academic consultation with our professor, our lecturers, interactive exchange, and even face-to-face or physical tutorials are made available. And we learn over time how to eliminate the dropout rate of online learning. So moving forward, 2 years ago, even before the pandemic struck, Rajawali implemented a global online education program for our employees in partnership with Thunderbird in Rajawali pursuit to become a more globally competitive organization. So we identify the needs, we provide our employees with a pathway online, starting from a foundation of English for business to a full master degree program online. So we have now 2 batches of a total around 50 employees joined the online pathway, and 5 of them, including our dear moderator, Melanie, have completed a full master degree in global leadership and management to date. Way to go, Melanie. So something we never hoped for and expect, pandemic hit our country, but we must cope with nevertheless. So a lot of lessons have been learned, but a lot of questions left unanswered when implementing online education, especially for corporate talent development. So to better prepare ourselves moving forward, we have with us today our distinguished speaker, Pak Rudiantara, Pak Herdi Harman, Pak Prinoto Widikdo, who have accumulated invaluable knowledge and insights of how to best go about and prepare for our future amid the pandemic COVID-19. So without any further ado, Rajawali Global Education, in partnership with Thunderbird School of Global Management, once again proudly present this webinar and welcomes your active participation in the dialogue. I wish you a productive and useful webinar. Thank you, and I give the Zoom back to Melanie.
Thank you very much, Pak Agung, for the very nice opening speech. And now, I would like to introduce the moderator for today's discussion, Bapak Tommy Indarto, the lead MIS and Innovations at PT Freeport Indonesia. Pak Tommy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Melanie, and good morning, good evening to all of you attending the session today. So as actually introduced by Melanie, my name is Tommy Indarto. I've been in the industry for about 23 years now. Most of my career is spent in the mining industry, and then some part of it in the financial services industry. Been around in the technical aspect of the industry, which is the information technology, and also in the learning and development. It's very honor for me to be involved in this important event. Whenever Ibu Dila contacted me, So, instantly I said, yes, I will participate because I see the importance of this, session as part of the, industry that is evolving. One of the important aspects is the people. I've been around in the people development in the eastern part of Indonesia, Papua, and people is actually something that is very unique, and learning and development is something that actually impacting how we actually able to form the people that we want. I believe in this session, I see there are about 83 or 85 attendees that are already joining the session. Maybe some of them actually in the planning process of maybe continuing their education, or maybe some of them are representing the companies to search for opportunities, to develop their employees. So this is the right time, this is the right session, because we will have our prominent speakers, talking about their views of various aspects of the learning and development, especially during these challenges and during this pandemic, that happening across the world. Before I move forward, I read a lot of articles just before we started this session, and I kind of read between the lines some of the key, punchlines. This is the thing. We cannot return to the world as it was before. So is it also going to happen with our learning and educations, whatnot? We shall see and we shall hear from our speakers today. So I would like to remind you as well that we are going to open the Q&A session. You can post the Q&A in the Q&A section of your Zoom, as well as we are going to do polling. So every end of the session by each of the speakers, we are going to actually have the polling, and then we expect that all of the attendees will participate, because this is going to be important for us moving forward to actually doing more valuable events in the future. So in the next 90 minutes, there will be 3 speakers and 2 discussions to respond on the sharing materials, and we also going to have the Q&A. All right, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker. So I believe all of us already knew him. This is my actually area before, in the IT area. So he's the former Minister of Communication and Informatics for the Republic of Indonesia. And currently he actually moved into the academic work. So he served as chairman of the board of trustee at University of Pajajaran. This is my neighbor. I was graduated from ITB in Bandung as well, so my neighbor. He will share to us today about how academic institutions such as universities going to respond to the challenge that we had, such as COVID-19 pandemic. So I present to you Pak Rudiantara. Pak Rudiantara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mas Tommy. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon all of us. Pak Pri, as my working library in human capital development, my colleague Pak Herdi, I consider him as a warrior in the human capital development in the country. And colleagues from Rajawali, Dr. Sanjeev. Dr. Sanjeev sent us the question around 37 minutes ago. He asked us into the group of panelists, who should I thank for this event? I immediately respond to that question by saying that we have to thank to this pandemic. Why? Because this pandemic gives us a lot of opportunities, of course, at the cost of the others. distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia will have the peak of the bonus demography in more or less 10 years down the road. Yeah, we will be in the peak of bonus demography in the 2030 or 2031. But we will enjoy the bonus demography depends on, one, the quality of the human capitals in this country. And if we refer to the quality of human capital in this country, we are still from the average in the world. We have to admit that one. And again, this is not the same for me. Yeah. To me, as long as we are below of global average metrics, that is an opportunity for us. Yeah. That is number one. And what will drive the human capital quality? One of them is education. Unfortunately, the education level in Indonesia is also much below the average. If we refer to the PISA ranking, which provides by the OECDs, that we are still number 70s, yeah, among less than 80 countries. So this is really a challenge for us. Again, the quality of human capital. In the 2045, we aim that Indonesia will be no longer in the group of developing countries. We will be a developed countries, but still it depends on the quality of the human capitals. Now, we are entering into the human capital development, particularly in education and in the higher education in this country. In this country, we have over 8 million of students of university, of high schools, of institute, and this number is more than people who lives in Arizona. Arizona population is only expected this year only 7.2 million, you know. And every year we have around 1.7 million new students boarding into the universities on the higher educations in the country. But again, the most important thing is not only the number, but the quality. Yeah. Out of the 8 million, actually Indonesia, we have around 4,700 higher education institute, where almost 600 are universities. Yeah. And in the next 10 years, towards the bonus demography, every year we have around 4.5 million to 0.48 million people entering into the age of studying in the higher education level. So there will be 48 million, yeah, between 45 to 50 million people of Indonesia that they have to get the education at the higher level. Yeah. But again, the question is, how do we get the quality of the human capitals of the 45 to the 50 millions for the next 10 years? A lot of student mindset, when we ask the student right now, what would you be after you graduate from the schools, from universities, from the institute? I can bet that most of them say that I would like to work for this company. I would like to work in this sector. Yeah. And that is not wrong, but we have to change the mindset of the students. Probably we have to change the mindset. We have to educate not only at the higher educations, but also in the mid or lower educations. This is something that we have to educate for the futures of Indonesia. how do we educate? Why? Because we know that the high-tech global company, Google, Oracles, you name it, yeah. There are around 50 global tech company. They are not required degree anymore. While in Indonesia, people mindset, paper, certificate, physical certificate is more important than skill. Then one thing that we have to shift is the mindset of knowledge to become the skill. So that's why the government of Indonesia are now focusing on the how to shift not only for knowledge, but also to skill. By our constitutions, that 20% of our annual state budget has to be spent for education. Not only for curriculums, but also that's include infrastructures, teachers, whatever it is, But 20%, this is a big money, But if we do correlations between the fund that's spent by the government, which is 20% out of our annual state budget, and the quality of the human capital development, it seems there is no positive correlations, nor coefficient determinations. So again, this gives us a lot of opportunity. These pandemic things, gave us a lot of opportunity. For instance, in the Pajajaran University, there are some study or program study that benefiting from these situations, which is the social and humanitarian, yeah, because they don't have to do the, we call it the practice or interact with the other something like that. They can at least 90% conducting their study in the room using online. But for the other faculty, such as medical or veterinarian, they have to deal with the animal, we have to deal with the people. They need more money actually to do practicum. I'm also right now holding the position as the chairman of the Cement Indonesia Group, the largest building materials company in the region in ASEAN. So we have around 10,000 permanent employees. And I watched what went on during this COVID situation, particularly in the human capital development. Yeah. We planned in 2019, execution in 2020. We almost come to the conclusions that with the almost the same quality we can get from the human capital development, whether training, whatever it is, but we are able to save almost 50% of the cost. So again, 90% of the human capital development program in Cement Indonesia Group now is conducting through online system. Now, what are the challenge for us? The challenge for us is to get the right curriculum, to get the right program study that not only give us the knowledge, but more important things, improve our skill. Yeah. And we need the partner, we need the presence of the university like ASU, Thunderbird, in this case, although in Indonesia, by legislations, the foreign universities, foreign education institutions are not allowed to have physical presence in Indonesia due to in the legislation, in the law, is still stipulated that education has to be conducted in the non-profit way. Unfortunately, that the cluster of education has been taken out from the omnibus law that has been approved by the parliament yesterday. Yeah. But I'm a firm believer that this country, Indonesia, will change a lot, will change dramatically. Again, how can we improve the education system in Indonesia toward the bonus demography in the 2030? What will be the roles of the foreign or international universities right now? I have made the quick and simple analysis. Now, the international universities, they are trying to improve their global presence through the digitals. So, for instance, Arizona State University global ranking based on QS rank is still number 180s, but based on Webometrics rank, Arizona State University is ranked number 50. And I do believe that this is part of the strategy of ASU, how to have the presence, not only the presence, visibility, transparency, and excellence in the global educations. While for the, say, Stanford University, their QS rank is number 2 or second, while Webometrics ranks also second. University California at Los Angeles, their QS ranks is number 13, but their Webometrics rank is QS rank is number 36, but Webometric ranks is number 13. Again, this is a strategy of the global education institution to have more presence. Now seems that Webometrics ranks is more important rather than QS rank in the university global context. I'm very happy to have the ASU presence in Indonesia. And even though by law is not allowed to have the physical presence, but digital will bypass everything. And what will be the something that we have to consider in this country, in this global educations through online things, is as long as not violating the law of the electronic transactions in Indonesia, we are okay to deliver or to offer whatever program study in Indonesia. And if I may also propose that the global company and the global universities like ASU enter into cooperations with Indonesian university. So their presence will become stronger in the country. And the online education system in Indonesia will be widely spread throughout the country. From the infrastructure point of view, we know if we would like to run the ICT in the country, there is something that we have to consider is DNA, from device, network, and application. And from device, we don't have a problem. Network, yes, but still focusing in Java. Nowadays, government and operators accelerate the development of the infrastructures outside of Java. And from applications, this is something that we still lack in Indonesia. In this case, applications is I consider as the program study that offered one of them by the Arizona State University. Sorry, this is my timer already said that I have to stop for 15 minutes. I think this is as my, not speech, but something that will trigger us into the Q&A session later. By this, again, I would like to congratulate to Rajawali Foundation, Arizona State University, and everyone who are participating in this event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you, Pak Rudiantara, for the inspiring sharing. So if I may recap some key highlights that I noted during the sharing by Pak Rudi. The first one is that from the statistic that we have a very significant amount of manpower or resources that we need to actually fill in terms of the education gap. However, we still also have significant, not correlated factors that we also need to work on. And digital is actually one of the important aspects that maybe the academic institution need to focus on, as well as the foreign educational institution need to probably collab with local universities to strengthen the footprint in Indonesia. So very inspiring sharing. I want to remind you all, the attendees, that we still have the Q&A open. So post your question in the Q&A section on the Zoom applications, as well as after this, we will actually pop up the polling. And I expect all of us participate in the polling. Mas Yuli, if you please open up the polling. Okay, so this is the polling number 1. Give you some minutes to review and participate. Polling is still in progress. Do we have the results, Mas Yuli?
The participants still try
Okay,
to.
let's give them a couple of seconds then. All right, while we are waiting for the polling, actually, the topic of education and learning is something that becoming the hot topics nowadays, especially not only for the higher education, but across all levels, especially in Indonesia. As you know that from the, even from the kindergarten, from the kindergarten and then the juniors, high school, all of them are embracing the new normal, we call it, of conducting the education. There are actually also pros and cons with that. The cons is actually, I hear my wife keep complaining, about how the kids are now more demanding, not only from the content of the education, but also from the infrastructure, etc. So that's the aspect of it. But actually, that's really new things that we need to embrace. Okay, so we have the poll results. Which of these following skills do you think important to have for leaders and managers as well as entrepreneurs during and post COVID-19 pandemic? And we have the answers. The top 3 are: number 1 is creativity and innovation. Number 2 is communication and emotional intelligence. And number 3, we have 2 tie actually, which is collaborative skills and flexibility and adaptability. Thank you for the participations. And let's move on to the next speaker. Our next speaker here is the former colleague of mine when I was in the PT Bank CIMB Niaga. He's actually very passionate in learning and development. He's been around, is a veteran, if you will, in the corporate as well as non-profit organizational experience, as well as with academic institutions. He will share, which is very interesting topic related with human capital professionals. So during the pandemic, what will be the challenges that human capital practitioner will face and how they can overcome that challenges and turning that into opportunities, as well as what will be the characteristic of employees that companies nowadays are sought, and how we can, or as a company, we can develop or even acquire qualified human capital personnel. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Pak Prinoto Widikdo. Pak Pri, the floor is yours, Pak.
Tommy, thank you very much for your warm welcome. I miss you when you were at CIMB Niaga.
Thank you, Pak. Yes.
There, and he was probably one of the most energetic, passionate persons that I saw, and I had the opportunity to hear a number of his presentations in learning and development. So, but I say bravo to you, kudos to you on the next stage of your journey, and keep on learning. Now.
Thank you, Pak.
Pa Yuli is going to be helping me here with this. So, Pa Yuli, I've been asked to give not more than 15 minutes. So I decided to choose 4 talking points here. So the first one is, I asked it in terms of questions. What is the need for highly knowledgeable and skilled human resources in Indonesia? And has it changed during the COVID-19 pandemic? So wearing my other hat as a C-suite headhunter, this is very critical for me, and the need to find highly knowledgeable and skilled human resources in Indonesia is not easy. The second issue that I want to address is, what are the main qualities sought after by companies and an employee? And I must say, in my 45 years of work experience, particularly in the area of human resources and executive search, it has changed. It has changed a lot, and I have to underline or reinforce 4 points from my esteemed colleague Pak Rudiantara. So he mentioned 4 points, which I will also reinforce in this presentation. So one is quality human capital, for sure, we need that. And the second one is change our mindset, because it's really all about changing the mindset. And I used to enjoy teaching at ITB and IPME business schools because the executive MBA program, because I had 18 and a half to 19 hours to change their mindset, and they change quickly, especially when I told them that if they criticize me, it's okay. They're not going to lose points. In fact, if they don't criticize me, they will lose points. Now, the other one is, Rudiantara also highlighted skills, and that's what I'll be underlying in this presentation as well, because it's all about competency. What competency can you do you have that you bring in what's your contribution in terms of competence that you bring into the organization? The pandemic, Rudiantara also said, is giving us a list of opportunities to change our mindset and embrace new opportunities. And for me, it's really had a big impact on me. So since April, I've had to change my whole mindset, and I've had to learn new skills, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So again, thank you, Pak Rudiantara. Your points are well taken. In the job market, the next point, third, are the physical constraints caused by the pandemic, given the physical constraints caused by the pandemic, what are the challenges and opportunities in developing and acquiring highly qualified human resources for companies? Even before the pandemic, I have to say, my experience at CIMB Niaga was that they were already getting into this high tech this online type of learning, and that was the only way to motivate, to keep 70% of the population. We had 13,000 employees, and 70% were millennials. I'll mention a little bit about that as well. The last point that I'll be covering is in the job market. The question is, do graduates from online education have equal qualification and opportunities as those from on-campus education? Okay, Mas Yuli. So this is from the first talking point. I have five points to
It's
underline.
11 o'clock.
The first one is qualified professionals, and particularly at the middle level. There's a need for qualified professionals, and particularly at the middle level in both the private and public sector, with relevant skills and knowledge. And I put relevant to highlight again the need for specific competencies. The second point is the combination of theoretical knowledge with practical skills. Now, this is something that's, interestingly enough, has been addressed over what I would say over the last 20 years, 25 years in Indonesia, particularly with the business schools, where the business schools like IPMI, ITB in particular, were highlighting, emphasizing practical knowledge. So they would say, come here for a practitioner-oriented degree or education. The third one, effective working knowledge of English. Like it or not, English is becoming a key aspect, a key requirement if you want to get along and if you want to progress in life, because of the increased globalization, because of the increased people, the increased diversity. And it's in Indonesia also, I've noticed that the English is being taught even earlier. And the type of English, when my daughter, she's now 35, and already working in New York, but when she was going to school at Tarakanita and Orait Labora, I was sitting in and peeking and eavesdropping on her classes, and I noticed that even at that level, it was already people were using English. Also, English in a number of the curriculum at the S2 level or the graduate level in Indonesia is also being used. The next one, cross-cultural effectiveness, I think is key, especially with not only with the globalization, but also with the increasing Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, the diversity in Indonesia. I was working in for one client, and I had to work 3 months there. And what was an interesting one was that almost maybe about 7 different sukus or ethnic groups were represented there. And it was interesting to notice that even with my own cross-cultural background, I'd spent 30 years overseas. I've been back 37, 38 years. It still required sensitivity on my part. I had to listen in a different way and actually listen as opposed to waiting for the person to answer so that I could reply, and also in order to get that integrated cross-cultural effectiveness. The last point, again, it was emphasized by Pak Rudiantoro. It's the competency-based skills, and it was interesting that in terms of the polling, computer skills was highlighted as one of the top 4, top 3 of the skills that you participants considered important. And the other one was the behavioral skills, and you also highlighted that in terms of the communication skills. And at the end of the day, it's really about communication. In 1984, I was in Canada. I was being interviewed by the regional managing director of Pricewaterhouse, and at that time I had worked 12 years for CIDA, Canadian International Development Agency. So I was a public servant of Canada. And when he interviewed me at 2 or 3 hours, and at the end he said, you know, Pri, you really don't know anything about business. You don't know anything about what is it now? What is it now? About marketing, about IT and so forth. And at the end, I was feeling dejected, you know, at the age of 38 years old, to be told that after 12 years of experience, I was ready to cry and leave. And then he said, and then he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, but I like you. And I like you because you have good communication skills. You ask good questions and you're berani, you're courageous in asking these questions. And said, so I'm going to recommend you to hire you, for Pricewaterhouse to hire you. And I'm going to put you on 1 year at Pricewaterhouse University to learn business skills. And at the end of the year, if you don't if you don't succeed, I'm going to get so mad at you because I'm putting my reputation on the line for you. But I believe in you. So again, to highlight communication is important. The next one, Mas Yuli, this is just to highlight statistics I got from a BUMN presentation, the dilemma kekurangan talenta, so the lack of talent, and it's been generated by Boston Consulting Group. But if you notice there, for the senior one, for all of the levels, there is a high demand, or there is a higher demand than supply. But particularly in the middle level, the high demand is what, 116% versus supply of 20%. And even at the lower demand, there's also an imbalance, more demand than supply. Okay, Mas Yuli. Future skills, we're talking about different future skills, and we were alluding to that in the polling. But again, this is future skills till 2030, you know, and Rudiantara again, you know, was focusing on up to the 2030. And the first one, of course, is creativity. And I'm sorry that this is difficult to read for you, but it's basically creativity, and to give examples of, in terms of originality, in terms of in terms of originality, in terms of innovation, problem solving. That's part of creativity. Adaptability, and that means being flexible, willing and able to learn new things fast. And this is really a big challenge for somebody like me. To learn new things fast. I take a while to learn things, but then once I learn it, I learn it well. The next one is synergy, working with others for win-win. I put win-win-win situation, but anyway, win-win situations. This is critical in a number of the large corporations that I've worked with. My clients are there was this tendency for silo mentality and a lack of working together. So that was one of the issues, one of the challenges of human resources to address. Systems oriented, see the big picture, understanding complexity. Implementation, at the end of the day, it's about execution, getting things done, achieving results. Judgment, having good judgment, decision-making, and wisdom. And in fact, this pandemic is a blessing because we have to address so many issues in our lives. And if you can address them with some degree of calmness, well, you're allowed to get excited and to cry a little bit, but then after that, you gotta to have a cool head. That's how you get good judgment, through being able to address difficulty. And then the other thing is, remember that you are you, the uniqueness of yourself. You follow what's important for you. You follow what's meaningful for you, and then you do your own thinking. You know, this is what makes you unique and makes your contribution to an organization unique. We talked about hard skills and soft skills. If we go to the next one, Mas Yuli. Hard skills are things that are quantifiable, even fluency in language, certifiable. I mean, despite everything, it's true about Rudy. It's our country, you know, still still looks at the degree. And the degree is important, but you also have to look at what are you going to do with that. Definable skills like PowerPoint programming. The soft skills, we highlighted that, and it was reinforced by the polling. Social skills like negotiation, teamwork, your attitude, you know, integrity, confidence. Integrity, you know, I mean, integrity is what you are even when no one is looking, and not what you are when somebody's looking. Management, planning, and problem solving. So, Julie. Challenges and opportunities. Again, Pak Rudianto talked about the opportunities here. Recognizing vocational experience-based training. And I'm happy to see that a number of organizations, NGOs are recognizing this and underlying this, you know, like the Learning Farm, where they take people from 16 to 18, 19 years old and teaching them skills on how to 6-month courses on how to hands-on course on how to take care of a farm. Strategic alliances like what's happening between Rajawali and Thunderbird and Arizona State. When I was a public servant in Canada, I was a public servant, and I was so thrilled that they had this program where people in the private sector could spend some time in the public sector and vice versa. And I had that opportunity, and that's what got me excited about, after 12 years in the public sector and NGOs, to I got to go into the private sector. And that led me to that interview with Pricewaterhouse. Online education, re-examining and implementing new and different organizational structures. Setting up universities of professions and structured internship programs. Internship programs are a great way to get your foot in the door and show what you're made of, and also get experience and see what's happening in the real world. Group field projects between universities and companies. This is something that when I was teaching at IPME Business School, they had these group field projects where that was your dissertation, so to speak, or your field projects, and you had to do something that was practical for a company, and you work together with a company. Usually, at the end of this group field project, if you contributed a lot, you would get a job offer. I remember I was supervising this group field project to set up a training program for Multi-Bintang company, and then they did such a good job to set up a training project that all 4 people in that group field were offered a job at Multi-Bintang to execute, to implement what they had proposed. And again, emphasize competency-based education. The next one, Masuli, online graduates versus on-campus. It's interesting to note that online students are older than traditional students. In fact, 2 months ago, I finished a 2-month online course on psychometric assessment that was done in the UK. It was probably one of the hardest courses I've taken because I've never had so much reading in my life. Apparently I got good feedback because the 3 professors told me that I was asking a lot of questions, more than even the younger ones. The difference between me, I was at 73 years old, and the next person in line was 44 years old, and the youngest one was 21. And trying to keep up with them in the discussion sometimes, it was good as long as I was willing to ask questions, and which I did. Many online students are women with families. So, hey, those of you who are women with families, you can still continue to educate. In fact, I'd like to quote. Well, there was a thing I picked up in the group chat from Ibu Baby Lokita Salsabila, and she made a comment. It's a long quote, but the thing that she picked up was, I think, from the Apple founder. We need to stay foolish and to stay hungry. Keep learning and educate ourselves. So I was particularly delighted to read that, So thank you, Ibu Baby, for your comment, because it made me realize I'm going to go on and get another online education. And so for me, the online education on psychometric, I'm now a licensed practitioner in Lumina psychometric assessment. So I'm going to continue and learn more. Recent indicates that 75% of academic leaders, 83% of executives believe that online education is equal or superior to on-campus education. And I've just listed two sources here, MIT and US Department of Education 2020, but I noticed later that there's more who reinforce this. So online education, go for it. I mean, especially now with the pandemic, continue. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. Degrees online can work to the job seeker's favor, speaking to the work ethic and dedication of the individual. One of my client, who is a regional CEO, he's English, regional CEO of a big Australian company, 400 million, what is it, billings per year. He has done all his education in online, and in the last 7 years working for that company, he has brought the company, he's grown the company. One, technical skills or competency. Two, he has come across as an incredible leader. When I talk to his colleagues, when I talk to his employees, they cannot stop. They wax eloquent about this gentleman. And then three, apart from that, he's a kind person, a humble person. And I love that. And I said, hey, listen, after you finish here, let's talk again. I'm going to promote you in another, in one of my other clients. Okay, Pak Yuli. I'd like to end here again to reinforce what one of the participants, Ibu Baby Lokita, had said. And this is William Pollard. He's a Quaker, in the 19th century. And I used to think of Quakers as being very conservative and very closed, but apparently he went against the tide, against the grain. And he said, learning and innovation go hand in hand. Learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow. You got to keep on going. You got to keep on studying, whether it's formal or informal, but you got to keep on learning new things. And one of the things I told one of my panelists before we started was that I have learned so much from my daughter, who's 35, and her friends, millennials. Not only in terms of technical skills, especially for high tech, but in terms of the questions they ask. Yeah, you learn a lot from the questions that people ask, and that will be one of the ingredients for innovation, for creativity on your part, and for you to contribute something to the organization of your choice. So on that note, Mas Yuli, I want to thank you. Terima kasih banyak. I hope I haven't gone past the time. I've got my Apple Watch, and it rang about 1 minute ago. So thank you, Pak Yuli, Pak Tommy, for the opportunity to stretch a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Pri. And as usual, you deliver very impressive, materials and content in your way, in Pak Pri's way, which is very impressive. One punchline that I would like to share is actually the last quotes that Pak Pri mentioned. Learning and innovation go hand in hand, and that happens to me. Now I oversee the MIS and innovation, which is basically what I been assigned to is transforming the traditional mining process, underground mining process, into digital and autonomous mining process. And what I actually do is basically learning, because nobody actually has ever done that before in anywhere in the world. So I have to learn, and I have to, find new things, new way of doing things, because like US Marine say, the only easy day was yesterday. So thank you, Pak Pri, for the very inspiring sharing sessions.
Thank you, Pak
I would
Tommy.
like to remind you all attendees to actually fill in your questions into the Q&A sections, as well as we will have polling coming. So Pak Yuli, please actually execute that. So, okay, let me read the question here. Which of these following industries do you think will survive and grow post-COVID-19 pandemic? So which of these following industries do you think will survive and grow post-COVID-19 pandemic? Please select your top 3 answers. I will give all of the attendees some time. Do we have the results, Mas Yuli, or still in progress? All right, here we go. So the first one, as I actually predicted, top 3, number 1 is online education and remote learning. That's number 1. Number 2 is network providers and application development. For example, broadband and virtual meeting applications. Number 3 is FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods. So that is actually the answer. Thank you for the participations. That's really insightful. And let's move on to the last but not least speaker here. This gentleman is actually have a very long exposure in the people development aspect in many companies, and now he is actually hold position as director of human capital at PT Bank Rakyat Indonesia or BRI, as well as president commissioner of PT Infomedia Nusantara. What he will be sharing is related with what will be the human capital qualifications needed in Indonesia, especially in the state-owned enterprise, and what will be the challenges moving forward in developing human capital resources, and how to stay ahead of the game, as well as how the trend of utilization of digital and technology in the learning and development area. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pak Herdi Harman.
So
Pak
thank you.
Herdi, the floor is yours. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Tommy. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let me say thank you to Pak Agung as a host, keynote speaker, Pak Sanjeev, Pak Junardi, and all the other speakers. Kang Rudi, one of my favorite minister ever. Pak Pri, and also Pak Jonathan. Very good morning to everyone. Actually, talking about people development is one make me so excited. You know, it's very, very excited. So everything is about people. So what make one country different to other country? What make one nation or one company different to other company? It's about people. People, people, people. So the essence is how we find the best one, and how to develop and to nurture and to retain the best people in our institution. Actually, I was asked by Bu Dila to share how the BRI deal with this pandemic, especially in the for learning field. So before I move on, I was asked also to send the video. So let's watch the video of BRI.
responding to the vision and aspirations of Berry to become the most valuable bank in Southeast Asia and home to the best talent. Berry is committed to continuing to develop HR competencies in line with the aspirations of the President of Republic of Indonesia to create superior Indonesian talents.
Pembangunan SDM menjadi kunci Indonesia kita ke depan.
This requires world-class human capital management and practices. Berry collaborates with global institutions such as obtaining CLIP, Corporate Learning Improvement Process Accreditation in Europe, and Brandon Hall Group certification for excellent human capital organization in America. Berry Human Capital Transformation focuses on three main pillars: people, culture, and organization. Strengthened by an enabler system, creative and effective human capital communication, certified human capital practitioners, advancing human capital information system and digitalization, and promoting healthy industrial and employee relation. Human capital transformation must be successful in providing a good system for brilliance to develop their potential optimally. The people pillar creates great talent and great leaders in the Berry Group through various strategic initiatives to get the best employee experience from the moment of applying, being developed, being retained until retired. Brilliant Development Center, responsible to define all the best recruitment policies, prepare all assessment and development programs. Talent attraction is implemented through a multi-source and multi-channel recruitment with inclusivity and diversity principle. The multi-source Berry recruitment are Brilliant Scholarship Program, Brilliant Creativity Contest, Brilliant Get Talent Program, and Brilliant Internship Program. They can join through our multi-channel recruitment, Brilliant Next Leader Program, Brilliant Future Leader Program, and Brilliant Banking Officer Program. The selection criteria include intellectual capital, psychological capital, and social capital. The selection phase is focused on deep dive for candidate profiling character, which is expected to be in line with Berry's corporate culture. Corporate University as Berry Center of Professional Excellence, with Brilliant Development Center prepares the Systematic Development Program, a three-prongs educational curriculum to create a future great leader, which covers technical, professional, and leadership competency, with strong character shaping. Furthermore, they will continue to move along with thousands of other Brilliant through various development programs, namely Brilliant Specialist Development Program, Brilliant Leader Development Program, Brilliant Global Leader Program, Brilliant Bright Scholarship Program, Brilliant Society Elite Program, Brilliant Leader Retirement Program. All systems are prepared by Berry to ensure Brilliants can design their own careers through the BDP Brilliant Development Plan. These huge investments are reflecting Berry's seriousness on creating the best global competitive Brilliant to be able to answer the company's future challenges as well as the nation's future challenges for Greater Indonesia.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I'll get back to the slide. Next. Next. So let's start by sharing about what would be the human capital challenges. In my opinion, there is at least 5 challenges in human capital challenges in order to be home to the best talent. That's what the company going to chase it. First, finding the right size and competency. Since we need to identify the right size, what would be the competency for the future workforce due to digitalization phenomenon? You can imagine banking is very changing the landscape. People is going to be lesser and lesser. Branches is going to be lesser and lesser. So where the employee going to be? So we need to identify then what would be the right size and the best competency for the future. The second challenge is talent attraction. So we focus on employer branding. Since the issue is like this, how sexy our company is. In order to everyone, the best talent submit the application to our company. If we just waiting for those who send the application form, I think we cannot find what would be the best one. So the issue is whether the top one, we call it as a starlight, going to send their application to BRI, not just only waiting. So we keep active, finding the best one outside the company to ask them to join with the company. The third challenge is talent management. Hopefully this is a national issue. It's not only in the scope of the company, it also of the country actually. Talent management is really, really important. Start from the how we identify, to select and develop, and who's going to be our successor. The fourth challenge is the building culture system. Of course, everyone talking about culture, about the values, but the issue, how would be the best internalizing method in order to make sure the value goes into the system. And the fifth challenge is we need to establish agile and digital organization. That's why we are talking about how would be the collaboration network organization, shared service organization. For instance, the back office. We don't need to have every company in the group, every division in the group having the back office. We can make it more centralized to help to serve all the business units. Team-based organization. In BRI, at least 70% of the structure we diminish. So we eliminate almost 70% of the structure. So shifting into the team-based, squad-based organization. And also we are going to have a more leveraging partnership with all the partners. Moreover, of course, nowadays COVID-19 pandemic becoming another major challenge. But in my opinion, Mr. COVID-19 is the most effective Chief of Transformation Officer in the world. He accelerates all the process. See, digital learning, e-learning is very tough in the early stage. But now today, everyone do the same thing. Everyone do the digital way, do e-learning, distant learning. Next. This is the architecture in BRI. We want to be most valuable bank in Southeast Asia, in home to the best talent. We have parameter in market cap, profit, employer of choice, productivity, engagement, and talent readiness. So why we have accreditation asking Clip doing so and Brandon Hall to do so in order to be, how would be the best one, or how would be the standard of the world-class human capital system and practices? That's why we ask them to calibrate in BRI human capital system. Since we want to become business prime mover by becoming business prime mover by providing reliable human capital system. We focus on people, culture, organization, and all the enabler system below. But people stuff, how we anticipate working workforce planning, especially how to respond for Industry 4.0, digitalization, future bank, something like that. And then we have to find how would be the creative talent attraction, systematic talent development, and attractive talent retention, and of course, equip talent offboarding as well. In culture, we just want to make sure the brilliant values, brilliance meaning for, we call it as bury people as a brilliant, internalizing brilliant values and build digital culture system and organization as well. And a lot of, since the time is so limited, I just focus on people, particularly in development way. Next. So this is talent development approach from BRI standpoint. We focus on, if we want going to develop people, we focus on, we call it three-pronged approach by having character shaping at the center. First, we address technical and functional competency. Let's say data scientists, IT service, IT security, big data, something like that. But also we try to develop their professional competency, leadership competency. Leadership and professional competency, we got it from assessment center. So there is some institution, some company have a license to do some assessment center. So we try to find what would be the gap of our people and buried people. So that's why we need to develop to fill in the gap. And in technical and functional competency, we have something like we call it LSP, certification to make sure our people have the specialization in the certain field. Of course, culture will impact strategy, especially human capital strategy and role of the leader to make sure whether we will be success in developing buried people or not. Next. I was asked as well, what is the global, the state-owned enterprise competency? As far as I know, we have global competency so far being measured by state-owned enterprise ministry. So for those who are going to be board of the management in state-owned enterprise, at least we need to meet this criteria. One is integrity, building strategic relationship, global business savvy, driving execution, customer orientation, strategic thinking, visionary leadership, change leadership, job motivation, empowering, managing diversity, intercultural empathy. So some of the items already elaborated by Pak Pri, if I'm not mistaken. Next. So this is, we call it the journey and development journey in BRI. BOD-7 is the one of the lowest rank in the company, and up to BOD-1, this is the highest one level below the board. But at least we need to make sure that all the brilliant understand what would be the development path in the company. We have brilliant banking officer program for those who join in the assistant level. We have brilliant future leader program. Since our employee value proposition, we promise to them. So for those who are going to be joining with us, we make you going to be great leaders someday. It's not only for the sake of the company, but also for the sake of the country. That's our promise, our values for those who are going to be joining with us. So that's why we call it as Brilliant Future Leader Program. And we have our call it Brilliant Leader Development Program, which is very sustainable program. Start from below, and every stages they have to have BLDP program until BOD-1. We also nurture specialization of the brilliant. So starting from even the very low level until the BOD-1. So let's say if you want to be find the one who expert in risk management, we have to make sure we have the talent in risk management, start from the lowest level until the BOD-1 level. We also have program called it Brilliant Global Leader Program. Since BRI is trying to be more expansive, some more responsive. Currently we have in New York office, in Taiwan, and it's going to open in Taiwan, something, and in Singapore. So hopefully the pool taken from this one, global talent pool. And we also have what we call it as Brilliant Society Elite Program. So for those who are selected as the Brilliant Society member, we call it as a very top talent. The very top talent one may join to this exclusive program. We call it Brilliant Society Elite Program. We will join with the global international school around the world. And we also Brilliant Bright Scholarship Program. And also we make sure if they're working with us until retirement, we make sure our people, our brilliant, will going to live happily ever after. That's the development journey in BRI. Next. And pandemic also, like I mentioned before, bring us to the new way of working, new way of learning. working is going to be more flexible. For instance, we implement flexible working. We may work be more flexible, and we set up what we call it as alternate working site. So even, let's say, even pandemic is all going to be no more access, I need to make sure working from home still there, working from office still there, and working from BRI co-working space. BRI working space we develop in order to eliminate mobility people from home to the office, at least to reduce the traffic light jam. For instance, for those who live in one area, let's say in Bogor, so we provide office in Bogor, like co-working space. So no need to come to the office to the Jakarta. And we also try to be more open space so everyone may work everywhere. No need just to one certain, in certain desk, something like that. And just to make sure be productive everywhere, we create something, what we call it application, and then productivity tool. We work with some partner just to make sure, and the boss is now worried, even though the let's say the subordinate working far from their eyes, the productivity is still there. Like I mentioned before, agility organization, we try to implement what we call it a team-based organization. It's more squad-based, more team-based instead of structure one. And we also go to digital online learning, online meeting, online activity. This is new way of working in the era. Okay, so this is the brilliant learning metric. So the horizontal one is talking with more strategic into technical, and the vertical one from limited to massive number in sense of audience of learner. So the cross into two line is going to be, that is the method we deliver. For instance, if the content is so strategic and the audience is so limited, we come with the learning with direct interaction. On-off instructor, on-off classroom, direct coaching, on-the-job training. And the other way around is if the content is more technical and more massive, or learning with indirect learning, asynchronous one, video, recording, animation, video, gamification, ebook, infographic, MOOCs, and book article, and so on. This is the what we have, what we call it as the brilliant learning metric. Next. And if we try to use Benjamin Bloom taxonomy, starting from low order thinking to high order thinking, there is six clusters. We try to grouping, for instance, if the content is more understanding and remembering one, so we doesn't need require direct SME assistant, subject matter expert assistant. But if we have the content more analyzing and applying something, we need SME, subject matter expert assistant at certain time. So this focus on learning program delivered through blended learning online with various media, just self-led learning and face-to-face learning. But if the learning is more high order one, let's say evaluating, creating something, and the entire learning process assisted by what we call it as a subject matter expert. Next. So this is the lateral learning method shifting. So the word in the brilliant hand, the word in our employee hand. So everything is go to global, to the smartphone, from physical to virtual, from event to process, from lecturer to SME and smart contest. This is shifting happened in BRI. Next. This is new delivery method as well. We more self-led learning, more virtual class and collaboration, and more social and experiential learning. Social and experiential learning is learning method guided by the peer, SME, and mentor to apply educational outcome in workflows. Since everyone understands 70% effectivity of the learning is from the workplace. Next, so this is my last slide. So once you stop learning, you stop dying. Albert Einstein said. Thank you. I think it met your expectation to share, and thank you very much for being observing of BRI way of learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Herdi, for the sharing. As I may probably highlight, one of the most interesting things that you share is COVID-19 is the most effective CTO, that's indeed true. When I was in Bank CIMB Niaga, we tried to introduce digital learning back then, and the adoption rate is pretty slow for whatever reasons, and I think now they do not have choice. So that's a good thing. Also, regarding the development journey or path, which is very structured, very well defined, and I believe having this pandemic as well, we or BRI actually also utilizing new ways of learning and implementing digital and online as one of the ways to still keeping the employees developed. Thank you, Pak Terry, for the sharing. To remind all of the attendees again, please post the Q&A, and we will actually also show the last polling. There will be 2 questions in the last polling, so give some time to see and actually fill it. So the first one, poll number 3. If you think reskilling or upskilling is necessary, how likely are you to take online course to adapt yourself in a changing world? That's the question number 3. Still in progress. Do we have the results, Mas Yuli? Okay, so very likely that all of the other ways of doing the course, including online, will be taken. So majority of it is actually answer very likely. Okay, so let's move on to the next or the last polling result, polling questions. Mas Yuli, please. According to your experience, which of these followings becomes the main obstacle in taking online course? Do we have the results, Mas Yuli? Okay, number 1 is fees or cost. So fees or cost is seems to be the most inhibitors, if you will. And then the number 2 is different time zone, followed by broadband internet connection. All right, so we have all of the polling answered. And with that, we conclude the sharing sessions by all of the panelists. Very inspiring presentation by all of the panelists. Thank you for sharing knowledge, experience, and hopefully this will bring a lot of insights to all of the attendees. Please give a very big round of applause to all of the panelists. Okay, with us here, we have actually two of fellow gentlemen that is also going to give their thoughts, going to share, their opinions about what has been shared by all of the panelists. We have Dr. Jonathan Pincus here, the president of Rajawali Foundation, academic counselor of Rajawali Global Education as well as Dr. Sanjeev Kagram, the dean of Thunderbird School of Global Management. Good evening there, Dean Kagram, as well as Dr. Pincus. I believe we have met before, Dr. Pincus, in Jakarta, I think almost 3 years ago, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully everything's okay. You are all in a healthy and safe conditions. Very interesting, topics being shared with us here by our three distinguished speakers. So probably I would like to ask the first, question to Dr. Pincus. You've been around in Southeast Asia as well as maybe Asia in general. So within this situation, during the pandemic condition like this, how do you see, is it different, in terms of what will be the needs to focus as compared to the rest of the world, especially with regards to the higher education opportunities during the pandemic? What do you think, Dr. Pincus?
Thanks, Tommy. And first, I'd like to thank our speakers today, Pak Rudiantara, Pak Pri Noto Widikto, and Pak Herdi. Very inspiring. You all brought experience from running very large organizations, and both in the public and private sectors, and your comments were very insightful and very inspiring. What I would say quite briefly is that as our speakers have already, I think, emphasized, that the pandemic has really just accelerated trends that were already in motion in technology, in the economy and society. I mean, I think we've seen since the global financial crisis, which was our last global crisis in 2008, I think we've seen since then tremendous amount of change, not only in technology, but in terms of how globalization has adapted new production systems, particularly in services. Globalization, modularization moved from manufacturing to services. And manufacturing itself has changed in some ways, reversing some of the trends that we saw earlier. So the world is in tremendous flux, a period of tremendous change. And like the pandemic, some of these changes are worrisome, and we need to learn how to deal with these major risks to our health and to our societies. But at the same time, they present opportunities, as I think all of our speakers have mentioned. In Asia, I think in the midst of all these changes, higher education is going through something of a renaissance. If we look around various Asian countries, universities in Asia have been very quick to adapt to these changes, and in some cases more quickly than universities in Western countries or in North America and Europe. And that's encouraging, because I think a lot of these universities, many of which have been around for quite a long time, recognize that in a globalized world, they don't need to reinvent the wheel. They don't need to rebuild the universities that have been built all over the world, or particularly in the West. They need to build new kinds of universities. I think among the American universities, Arizona State University is among the most innovative, as routinely recognized as the most innovative in the US. And I think that's well deserved and well earned. And certainly in our experience, we found them to be quite engaging and dynamic partner. But I think on the Asian side, there are also universities that are taking advantage of the changes that are underway. I think for Indonesia, I think Pak Rudiantara is going to transform Pajajaran University and make Pajajaran the new most innovative university in Indonesia, because we need higher education innovation in Indonesia. We've been sort of stuck in a period of academic protectionism and a bit of unwillingness to change, and that will change now. I think that there is a new awareness among Indonesian universities that it is time to look outward. It's time to begin to engage with global partners like ASU, who have a deep experience in using technology, but not only using technology, but also innovating in the way that they deliver programs on campus, project work, relationships with industry, to make learning more relevant. I mean, one of the things that always strikes me is that, survey after survey has shown that students feel that their education is not relevant to the job market. Right? I mean, I think a recent survey in the US said that only 16% of undergraduates feel that their university training prepared them for their first job. Right. And that's going to have to change. And I think Asian universities, including Indonesian universities, can be in the forefront of learning how to make higher education more relevant to the job market. And that's a big challenge for all of us, but certainly it's one that I think many Asian universities are taking on. Thank you.
I see. Thank you, Dr. Pinkas, for the sharing. Now move to Dr. Sanjeev Kagram. As you know, that online learning and higher education is now becoming one of the options, However, is there any research already conducted, or maybe from your opinion, Dr. Sanjeev, how about the response from industry? Are they actually have confidence? Are they have trust in the graduates' quality as compared to the on-campus, program or graduates? And how you think forward, Doctor?
Thank you so much. And first of all, again, congratulations to our incredible speakers. I learned so much, and I look forward to us continuing not only the conversation, but the innovation in partnership. Let me give you 3 pieces of evidence. One, for our own programs at Thunderbird, our online Masters of Applied Leadership Management, where many students like Melanie have taken, but all over the world. What we've seen is that their job outcomes, their professional outcomes, are as strong as advanced as our immersive students who are coming to us in person. Number 2, we see that it depends, of course, on where we are in the world. If we are in the Middle East, certainly here in Indonesia, other parts of the world, there still is a hesitancy, or was a hesitancy, on the quality and belief in the quality and the appropriateness and the value of online education. As we've all, agreed and concurred that the pandemic has completely transformed that. And so whether it's Paga Minetaro who said we must thank the pandemic, if that's the case, it's true. And so every part of the world. Let me just say a few other things. When the pandemic started, and we should also be thinking about executive education. All companies had to go remote. And at first, all of our executive education clients, and now we are Thunderbird, number 2 and number 3 ranked for international clients and international locations in terms of executive education. Much of our executive education happens with companies around the world. And many of our clients, not surprisingly, and partners on the executive education said, we're gonna pause until we can do it in person again. We began to really advocate and demonstrate to them that in fact we could introduce incredibly worthwhile, useful, and engaging digital education for senior managers and executives in their companies. And soon, over time, week by week, month by month, those companies started to jump back in. And so, for example, Merck, which is our largest client in Europe, was absolutely said no to a digital executive education back in March, April, May. But slowly we started again, first with empowering their managers to be more effective in working in virtual teams. And now we're back to 95% of what we would have been doing anyway in person online. Just today, I opened up one of our major new programs with Google digitally. And it's not just major US companies or European companies, it's companies all around the world.
Right.
So look, this is a process of transformation that we're all engaged in. There are many great questions about new technologies. We have to be able to employ different platforms. What's exciting is in Indonesia, in India, in many parts of the world, we're getting to see some new technology platforms. Somebody asked about AR, VR. We have to embrace AR, VR, XR much more. So long story short, Pak Tommy, we see that the outcomes are very, very, very strong, and that they're going to continue to get stronger as we get better at being able to deliver the very best education digitally. If I could just say one last thing, it's not an either or. We will get back to a time where it'll be much more hybrid. And so what we've discovered in terms of undergraduate students is we can do online education, but we have to have wraparound services, mentoring, coaching, projects, like Pak Pri was talking about, group projects, field projects, internships. It's still a comprehensive education we have to provide, even if it's digital. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Kagram. Very encouraging answer. And I think it makes all of us here still optimistic that there are still a lot of opportunities moving forward. Okay, thank you. So we have some questions already been posted and selected by the panelists. Thank you for all of the participants for all the questions. I have here from Pak Alfred Menayang, Pak Dadi Priyadi, Ibu Debbie Puspitaningrum, and from Stephen Booth. Let me actually pick some of it and summarize. So maybe the first question goes to Pak Rudiantara. The question is basically related with the type of major in the higher education that relevant to the online learnings. As you mentioned in your sharing previously, that not all of the major is actually effectively done in online ways. So how about the major that required like vocational or skill-based development, like need practicum, need physical interaction? And Dean Kagram just mentioned as well that AR, VR, maybe that's the future. But what is it going to be, your thoughts, Pak Rudy, in the quick runs? How are we going to actually respond to the challenge, especially for the major that required like physical interaction and vocational based sort of major? Pak Rudy?
Yes, I think this is the question from Ibu Debbie as well, that for physical interaction, practicum, something like that is replaceable right now. But using the upcoming technology, which is the AR or VR, I think soon we can do practicum, we can do physical interactions using those technology. But this will require the high bandwidth or bigger bandwidth right now. So we can do this one using the fixed solutions, fiber to the home or something like that, that connect universities with the students, or we have to wait for the 5G technology in place. But not all, but some of them can be replaceable. The only thing using the technology, we don't have the emotion. Yeah, for the medical students who do practicums, and they can feel the body, the body of the people or something like that. But using VR or AR, they cannot have the emotion on it, you know.
Thank you, Pak Rudy. And probably from the legal aspect of it as well, we need to maybe support as well from the government, especially if, you know, partnership with external or overseas, you know, academic institution, whatnot. It also need to be maybe reviewed and do some sort of flexibility as well, Pak Rudy. Okay, I think probably this is the last question that I'm going to pick, and I'm going to open it to the panelists here as well as to the discussions. This is related with the result of the polling regarding the obstacles of doing the online learning or higher education, which is number one answer is regarding the fees and costs. You know, one of the concerns that I heard from various sources is, you know, currently we are doing the education online, physical, so we have lower in terms of the cost, but the actual situation or condition is not like that. So maybe if this is actually becoming one of the obstacles, at least from our 87 attendees here, what will be the response? Maybe start with Dr. Pinkas as the president of Rajawali Foundation. What do you think, Dr. Pinkas?
Yes, well, I think in the coming time, we're going to really need to focus on the most practical sides of online education. I think we're going to need to build on what's already in place and progressively work towards deeper partnerships that we can develop together and solve the problems that we're facing in Indonesia. You know, one of the things that we're working on in Indonesia is a study of the economy. We're looking at the role of jobs in the economy. And one of the things that we've discovered is that, you know, there's something like 24 million people in jobs in Indonesia that are low productivity jobs. And according to our calculations, if every million people that leave a lower productivity job, primarily in traditional services, but also in agriculture, and moves into a higher productivity job, that GDP increases by 0.4% per year. So, you know, the prospects for Indonesian growth, prospects for Indonesia becoming an advanced country by 2045, by the centennial, really depends on creating enough high productivity jobs to move millions of people, not just thousands, but millions of people into steady employment, high productivity jobs. And I think has to be a priority for all of us, whatever sector we're working in. And that's going to require an education revolution, beginning from secondary, primary, junior secondary vocational education, and including higher education. And we will need to mobilize all of the technology partnerships available to us to achieve that. Because I think the alternative to that really is not acceptable, which is that we continue to allow, you know, millions of people to earn their livings in very low productivity occupations, and the country as a whole is less well off because of that. So, you know, I think the immediate challenge facing all of us is, how do we use our institutions, how do we use the tools that technology is available to us to prepare young people, and people of all ages actually, for higher quality, higher productivity employment, so that the country as a whole can prosper. And I think it's not a question of individuals and, you know, not a question so much of our individual advancement or individual careers, but it becomes a question of the entire society and the entire economy. But how do we move together to achieve this goal? Because it really is a shared goal. And as Junardi is always reminding us, you know, if anybody is left behind, then we all suffer as a result. So I think the more that we view this as a shared challenge, the shared challenge of moving millions of people from less good to better jobs, and leaving no one behind, that's where we will find success.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Pincus, for the answer. I know that we still have a lot of things that we want to discuss, but we are limited with time, and it is very late in Phoenix, Arizona. So I would like to conclude our session today with all of our outstanding, panelists as well as discussants. Big thanks to Pak Rudiantara, Pak Pri Notowidikdo, Pak Herdi Harman, Dr. Sanjeev Kagram, and Dr. Jonathan Pincus. Your thoughts, your sharing here is really inspiring us, and hopefully this can be used as an important takeaway for us. So ladies and gentlemen, all of the attendees, please give once again big round of applause to all of us. Okay, I would like to give the time back to Ibu Melanie. So Ibu Melanie, the floor is yours. And thank you and for having me. Stay safe and be blessed.
Thank you, Pak Tommy. And also thank you to Pak Junardi, Pak Agung Binantoro, Dr. Jonathan Pincus, Dr. Sanjeev Kagram, Pak Rudi Antara, Pak Prinoto Widikdo, Pak Herdi Harman, for your inspiring sharing and presentations. We have learned so much from all of you today. I'd also like to thank our interpreter and the working committee for supporting this webinar today. Last but not least, thank you for all the participants for being with us in this webinar today. If you have any additional questions, I would like to connect directly with our team. You can reach out directly using the contact information on the chat room. A recorded version of this webinar will be available at the YouTube channel of Thunderbird School of Global Management and the YouTube channel of Rajawali Global Education. Thank you, and we hope to see you again in our next events. Goodbye.